Alrighty, y'all, welcome back. We are back on the internet together again today. Breaking news report. I couldn't help myself. I just had to pump out another video when I got the chance. 2-week US-Iran ceasefire agreed on. Let's just jump straight into it.
Well, good morning. Let's get straight to that breaking news in the Middle East, with Iran agreeing to a 2-week ceasefire if attacks against the country are halted. President Trump backing down on a threat to end civilization in Iran. Let's bring in US...
Far out, you know. Do you reckon Donald Trump's handlers, they wake up every morning and I'm like, bloody hell, you know, Donald Trump just going off, just popping off on the socials, saying stuff like that. Can you imagine, the president saying stuff like that? It just blows my mind. A real dull moment with this bloke. I'm going to end civilization. Yesterday he was, what was he going to do? He was blowing up all the infrastructure in Iran.
Correspondent Reid Butler, who is following developments. Reid, this ceasefire all hangs on the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz.
Mark, it looks like commercial vessels will be allowed safe passage through that critical shipping route for the next 2 weeks at least, but it also looks like Iran will maintain control of the route over that time period. More on Iran's formal response to this in a moment, but first going back to the US president's extraordinary...
Well, I hope this is some sort of green shoot and we can have just some sort of sense of logical thinking here, because this is impacting like the entire planet. So hopefully we can sort something out. When I say we, I'm obviously not one of Donald Trump's best mates sitting at the negotiation table with Iran. But what I'm trying to say is, I think everyone's well and truly sick of all this bad news all the time. And we're looking for some green shoots and positivity in life. I don't think I'm alone in saying that. So, as cynical as I can be, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this is the start of some positive news to come out of this situation. However, it only takes one tweet by Donald or one just rogue bloody drone bombing or whatever the US may do to just end this and potentially make things worse. So let's just hope level heads prevail here. Because I'm sure a lot of you people at home, myself included, you don't know what's going to happen, do you? Everyone's saying everything's going to be fine, everything's going to be okay. You got one camp of people that think it'll just blow over, not even worried about it, not even thinking about it. You got others suffering a lot, so truck drive, anyone who's using a car for their job, or heavy commuting or carting family around or whatever stuff you need, you have to use that car for. There's people that are suffering. And also people are getting worried about, and rightfully so, the flow-on effects if this keeps on going on. So, for instance, food shortages, unruly behaviour by the public. We saw what happened during the COVID pandemic response. People didn't give a shit about each other. Probably throw their own grandma on the floor and jump on her head to get a thing of toilet paper. So I think people were concerned about that. A lot of people have been slowly but surely stocking up for the worst. Let's just hope that worst doesn't come. And now we're moving in the right direction. That's what I want to say. I'm going to try and be positive here. I know a lot of you guys who watch my videos and you say, oh, you're cynical or you're negative. I don't try to be, guys. I'm just talking about the news. And the news is always negative because negative information gets views and sells. How often do you see the news and something really positive is on there, unless it's some sort of sporting story where that particular nation's sporting team has done something well? Generally, it's all negative.
A threat this morning. He said that he could, if he wanted to, wipe Iran's civilization off the map if a deal wasn't reached. Then at the 11th hour, just before that deadline was hit, he wrote this on Truth Social: subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz, I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. This will be a double-sided ceasefire.
What I'm struggling with here is, I mean, he's very... Is he doing this? Is he on the phone doing this, or is someone else doing it under his command? I can't see Donald just rampantly texting. He's 80 years old. Wouldn't even know how to use a smartphone potentially. But we're getting play-by-play insider details here. I find it very strange. This sort of stuff makes it to social media. It's all this behind-the-scenes threats. Oh, very, very clearly, it's posturing. I just find it crazy we're living in a world now where we're getting play-by-play stuff by president of a nation talking about blowing up civilization of another existing country. They're getting cooked.
So there was a collective breathing out around the world. We were waiting to see what Iran's formal response to that was, and then we saw this post from Iran's foreign minister saying that the country agreed to that ceasefire agreement. This is what he wrote. If attacks against Iran are halted, our powerful armed forces will cease their defensive operations for a period of 2 weeks. Safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces. So that's what I was saying there about Iran still effectively being in control.
Of course they're in control. They run the whole thing. What are you talking about? Effectively being in control. They can burrow right in, turtle right in, and cause problems for the vast majority of the nation, especially the Western world, who are very reliant on that part of the world for these resources. Absolutely in control. That's why Donald Trump is resorting to such outlandish threats. That's the way I see it. Frustration. I don't know, as I said, you wouldn't want to be his handler going, hey, Donald, settle down, give me your phone, mate. Can you stop texting this shit? Literally, the whole world is sitting on the edge of its seat, and you got this guy just popping off on on social media. Now, this is not a critique on anybody. I try to stay somewhat neutral here, but just have a think about what's going on here. You got the President of the United States of America tweeting stuff like that.
Regardless, Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, he has just welcomed this development, saying it is positive news
elbow. Good stuff.
That de-escalation is the way to go here, but there's still so many questions surrounding this ceasefire. Mark?
Well, Reid, this is a 2-week pause. What's the long-term outlook for peace?
So, who knows? How's this bloke know? I may as well answer this question. Who the F knows? Let's hope it's bloody good. As I said, we don't want any more bloody inflation. We don't want to see war. We don't want to see bloody nations going against each other. Something we'll probably get dragged into. Unnecessary loss of life. I think people just want to get on with life, get some green shoots, and try and get ahead of the ball. Right? Try and be getting ahead of the game, so to speak. Because the last 5 years or so, it's been blow after blow after blow for Australians, and I dare say a lot of other countries. I think Australians are just at breaking point. There's a certain amount of bad news you can get. Time after time after time. You feel, things are going the right way. Boom, this happens. I think a lot of people are optimistic for 2026. Now it's looking like there are going to be some serious flow-through effects with inflation, just because this 2-week thing, is happening. How much oil do you think is going to get through there? Are they saying there's technical limitations are still heavily controlled by the armed forces? That's just saying we'll let some stuff through, a little trickle out. That's the way that I'm reading into this. A little trickle out, and hopefully it stops Donald from pressing the big red button. The Donald.
So hopefully the world is hoping this is the beginning of the end of this conflict. We know there will be in-person negotiations between the US and Iran in Islamabad. So Pakistan was kind of the mediator who helped pull together this peace plan that the sides have agreed to. Those peace talks will happen towards the end of this week. That is what is expected. But already there's some reporting that Israel isn't fully on board, or is at least very suspicious of this ceasefire agreement. Indeed, there's been strikes in Israel and in Iran from Israel just in the past hour after this ceasefire was announced. So things certainly seem like they're on shaky ground right now, Mark.
OK, Reid, thank you. Well, the ceasefire has had an immediate impact on markets at home. Oil prices plunging and the ASX soaring 2.5%. Amanda Kopp is live.
That's it, everybody. Investment properties, jet skis, Ford Raptors, all back on the menu, boys and girls. It's going to pump again. People are getting excited. It's the smallest little bit of somewhat good news. Boom. People are that conditioned to such bad news that something like that, this is only temporary stuff. And I hope it's not. I really hope it's not. What do you guys think at home? I'll put it out to you. I'll put it out to the floor. Do you think this will be a continued, ongoing conflict, or do you believe now this is great, positive movement in the right direction, and things will be resolved in a timely and non-violent, constructive manner? What do you think? I want to hear it. As I said, I have my own opinions, views on the world. I guess that's why you're here, to listen to what I think. But I'm also keen to hear what you think. Just because I'm saying something doesn't mean it's true. It's just my view on the world. It's just my spider senses.
In Canberra, Amanda, the Prime Minister is making moves this morning to secure vital oil supplies and stabilise fuel prices.
He is, Mark. The Prime Minister will travel to Singapore tomorrow, which is Australia's biggest oil supplier, hoping to get some sort of assurance that oil will keep flowing to Australia as this conflict continues. But back at home, truckies and the transport industry are sounding the alarm, demanding urgent changes to the way that transport companies pay trucking companies. They say that beyond April 21st, a lot of companies will no longer be able to keep absorbing these high diesel prices, which have doubled in the space of a month or so. Unions are at the Fair Work Commission this morning pleading their case.
Those at the top of supply chains squeeze this industry so hard that they are always on the margins of viability.
Now, the Energy Minister, Chris Bowen, has given an update on fuel. 221 stations are without diesel. That's close to 3% nationally. The situation is improving, but there's still more work to do. But this situation in the Middle East has really shown...
Gee, that's interesting. That information isn't being widely shared, is it? That's quite astonishing. And I think it's something, I don't know much about it, right? I'm not an expert in the field of logistics and all of that. Freight and oil and gas. I'm just a punter, like I guess the vast majority of you. Just a guy sitting at home yelling into his metaphorical sky here. I'm yelling to the clouds through my microphone. How long does it take for fuel to get from Iran to Australia and then transported to petrol stations? It would have to be a month or so, surely. Surely. Those tankers, they don't have turbos on them. They're probably going at the speed of a bicycle.
Just how vulnerable Australia is to global shocks, and it's leading to...
Because we've been sold out. That's just the truth of the matter. You can't argue against it in any way. Everything's been sold. All our key infrastructure, ports, oil and gas, bloody pipelines and all of that. This all gets sold off in large merger and acquisition deals for a little short-term sugar here. I mean, to list probably of assets, you can list them off and that they've gone into international holders would be long. We should be like other countries where they ban other nations, all nationals, from owning assets, purchasing assets. It's literally banned. You can't do it. You can't even purchase property. Go to Thailand. You can't even buy a house there. Literally not allowed.
To drill our own oil. Queensland Premier David Crisafulli today calling for a big oil field in the Sunshine State called Taroom Trough to be opened up, and saying that the federal government...
Let me guess, all the greenies will carry on. No, we don't want that here.
Should fast-track that approval. Similar sentiment from the leader of the Nationals, Matt Canavan. He's giving a major address at the National Press Club today.
I want to see us drill, refine and store our own fuel. We haven't seen a new frontier like this open up in the country for over half a century.
We shouldn't be depressed about having to just rely on ourselves again because we have so many resources. The problem is, under this government, we lock those resources up.
This government has always supported using more of our resources. A future made in Australia is exactly what we've been saying. We should make more things here.
All of that.
Oh yeah, that's all good and well. But we've been actively selling things off. We've got manufacturing. I dare say it'd even be possible to even make any money for a manufacturer here. Plus how much they're taxed and the government's not supporting any of our own manufacturing and development of anything, processing of anything with subsidies. But we're sending money off overseas for foreign aid. There's no local aid. Just get our industry going again, just like Donald Trump's doing in the US. People say, hey, this guy's cooked and he's doing all these tariffs and all this stuff. And I can see that side of the argument. But really, he's looking after America. He's doing his job. He's not being reliant on the rest of the world. He's trying to build up US industry. That's why this stuff's happening. Those tariffs and all that sort of thing.
Though Mark is in the long term. In the short term, let's hope these chats with Singapore go well.
Okay, Amanda Kopp in Canberra, thank you. Well, accused war criminal Ben Roberts-Smith will remain behind bars after opting not to apply for bail. Massilia Ali is at Silverwater Jail for us. Massilia, he could be locked up for months.
Yeah, about 2 months, Mark. Former decorated Australian soldier Ben Roberts-Smith could stay here behind bars at Silverwater Jail.
But I was not expecting that accent. More Aussie than mine. Hey, you going, cobber? With that get up on.
Until the 4th of June. And now his lawyers were set to make an application for bail via video link this morning, but when they came on, they said that Ben Roberts-Smith would not be appearing and that they would not be making that application. Instead,
they spent $300 million chasing the guy down. Like, think about $300 million, what we could have done with that. That's probably a medium-sized hospital somewhere that could have been built. They spent all that money chasing down Ben Roberts-Smith. And there's a lot of conjecture about this at the moment. Because I made a video on it on the main channel. You got people saying he's been stitched up, he's been hung out to dry by the ADF and all this sort of thing, and it's an inside job, blah 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 blah. And then you got other people saying, good, he should be locked up. He's a war criminal. He's not a war hero. The list just goes on. But I dare say, regardless of what the view is on both sides of the fence here, this can't be helping ADF recruitment in any way, selling that to people. Because I've got a view on this, and look, I wasn't there. I didn't have the body cam. I wasn't one of the other guys. Who knows what's happened there, right? But you trained, the Australian government spent money, taxpayer money, to train this guy to be a human weapon. To go and kill people on behalf of the government. He's in the SAS. That's what they do. They make problems go away. So he goes off and does that, and then you got people over here, people who've been sitting behind desks their whole life, who've never even been in a punch-up or even sparred in a boxing gym or anything, saying that they know how to discuss or understand what it's like to be in a war zone. As a soldier under different rules of engagement than what the rest of society has. I'm not saying if he has done what he did and he has been incredibly cruel and all of that, because in the day, it's alleged. He hasn't been found guilty. It hasn't been proved. It's all sort of he said, she said. There's not a lot of evidence out there apart from testimony of former squad mates, which I dare say in itself is quite damning. But I don't think it's looking good for him. I don't think he's going to get off. I think he will be put away. I think the government is really hot on him to put him away. $300 million. So whichever side of this issue that you're sitting, why? I mean, why? I want to understand why as well. I'm sitting on the fence. As I said, I'm not going to blindly say he's done nothing wrong. But I'm also not going to blindly sit there and say, oh, this guy's complete and utter trash and he's a narcissistic person who's trigger happy and enjoys the pain and suffering of others or whatever you see other people write all over the internet. Or jump up and down that he's been locked up. But yeah, I guess my view is, as I said, you've got a whole bunch of civilians out there, me included, commenting on this issue who don't just understand what it's like to be out there. And he's a trained killer. Like straight up, who knows how much money they put into training these guys? A lot. Gearing them up with all the weapons. They go and do it, and then years later, you got the media after him. You got certain sides of politics after him. But wouldn't you be asking yourself, if he's gone, this is the question I want answered, because I play devil's advocate on a lot of these issues, and I know it rubs people up the wrong way and all that sort of thing. As I said, guys, play the ball, not the man. Right? I'm just playing devil's advocate here, having a conversation. If he did all of these things, which have been alleged, why was this not reported sooner to the brass above him? Why were his squad or teammates, whatever you want to call them, squad mates, who were so very much troubled by what he's done and his conduct? Why was that not reported sooner? Why was it already known? There are a lot of questions to be answered here. Was that covered up until the media started digging? The paparazzi got out there, started digging up all this stuff, speaking to people, getting people to. Was it because he brought it on himself with that defamation suit, and all these people are brought in? And did you say has he brought it on himself? That's what the consensus is out there. But a lot of things also aren't adding up, and I'm sure they may add up in time. But who knows? As I said, critical thinking skills, that's what I like to do here. We're just talking about stories, we're talking about issues in Australia and around the world. Think about this channel as you're just having a chat with your friends at a barbecue. One person has an opinion, the other one's got an opinion. Might not agree or see eye to eye, but that's the forum I'm creating here. I'm not saying it's facts, I'm not saying anything. Once again, it's opinions, and everyone's got one.
Asked the judge for an in-person mention at the Downing Centre Court in Sydney later today, but the judge said that simply wouldn't be possible. It was too late and it would take too long that late in the afternoon to hear a bail application for a case this big. Instead, he asked the legal team to make that application themselves and said in the meantime he would make that adjournment until the 4th of June. Now, the million-dollar question, will Ben Roberts-Smith actually remain in custody until the 4th of June? Well, that's unclear. What is a little more likely is that his legal team will make that emergency application. It's unlikely it'll be heard today, but we are expecting it will be heard sometime over the next 2 weeks. Whether he is released on bail, that will be up to the judge, who hears both sides and decides ultimately whether Mr. Ben Roberts-Smith will be able to fight this legal case out.
What do you guys reckon? I think he's already had the backing of many. I think he had Kerry Stokes. I think Gina's weighing in. She's a heavy supporter of him. Will she pony up some money? That'll be... Well, we'll have to see about that. But I dare say he probably couldn't fund it personally. I dare say a public servant or veteran, I guess, is probably better to say, would have that shitloads of money that it's gonna cost to fight that. And if he does, it'll send him flat broke anyway.
Outside of jail.
Okay, Massilia, thank you. Well, it's a view of the moon humanity has never seen before. NASA releasing new images taken by the crew of Artemis 2 during their record-setting lunar flyby. Astronauts snapping around 10,000 photos, including this one of an in-space solar eclipse with the moon backlit by the sun. The crew has now re-entered Earth's gravitational pull, with NASA preparing to welcome them back to Earth. Two arsonists are on
There you go. That's good to see. It's good to see some non-negative news. You'll have people, I guess, saying, oh, well, that was taken in a set in Hollywood or something like that.
Run in Melbourne after firebombing a pizza shop in the early hours of this morning. Neighbours reported a loud explosion around 2 o'clock this morning.
Pizza wars.
When fire crews arrived at the Black Rock area, they found it fully engulfed in flames. Two people in an apartment above the adjoining chiropractors managed to safely evacuate. The pizza parlour was completely destroyed. Well, a gunman is...
Far out. Fire bombings in Black Rock. For those of you who don't know where Black Rock is, it's a highly affluent Bayside suburb in Melbourne. That's got to be over some sort of... Either that's an insurance thing going on, bit of a self-insurance job, or some underworld stuff going on. Pizza wars.
Dead and 2 other attackers wounded after a shootout outside the Israeli consulate in Istanbul. 3 men arrived at the building, which is empty due to the war in Gaza, and engaged in a gunfight with police for up to 20 minutes. Turkey and Israel have both labelled the shooting an act of terror. Well, an unbelievable near miss for a group of children in Texas has been caught on camera. They were walking along a footpath when a motorcycle flew towards them and burst into flames. The rider knocked...
That's something out of that. If you guys have seen that movie, Final Destination, if you don't know what it is, it's where no matter what you do, death's coming for you. You've been tapped, you know, your time's done, and you're going to freaky accidents happen to people. I believe in a similar concept to that. If you're dodging a death... that is basically guaranteed if you're going to be hit by that bike. By a pole, maybe down the line, you're going to go another way. Some real freak stuff.
Far behind. The kids ran from the burning bike just as the rider catches fire. That man then taken to hospital with second-degree burns.
Far out.
American rapper Kanye West has been banned from entering the United Kingdom amid growing opposition to his headlining of a London music festival. It comes after the artist was criticised over previous anti-Semitic remarks. The festival itself now cancelled as well. Europe correspondent Hannah Sinclair has today's developments.
It goes to show you that's the real sensitive issue at the moment is anti-Semitism across the world. That's the quickest way to get cancelled. I'm not saying rightfully or wrongfully. I'm just making a comment and observation here. In every country.
Wireless Festival, which was supposed to take place in July here in London, has been scrapped because its controversial headline act, Kanye West, has been barred from entering the UK. The British government withdrawing the rapper's electronic travel authorisation on the grounds his presence would not be conducive to the public good. Sir Keir Starmer saying Kanye West should never have been invited to headline Wireless. The rapper earlier issuing a statement offering to meet with members of the British Jewish community, saying, "I know words aren't enough. I'll have to show change through my actions." Jewish leaders declining the invitation for the purpose of saving the festival, labelling the decision to book him a massive error in judgment. The 48-year-old has been heavily criticised for his anti-Semitic remarks and glorifying Hitler. He apologised for his behaviour in a lengthy statement in January. Several major sponsors had pulled their support for the festival because he was headlining, and now the British government has bowed to the backlash.
There
you go. Blown off the face of the earth.
Joy and disappointment for tens of thousands of Aussie NFL fans after tickets went on sale this morning for the historic game at the MCG. Isabel Quinlan has more.
Well, there'll either be some very happy fans or...
All right, you NFL nuts out there, I think I'm done with this story. If you want to go and watch it, you can just find this news report pretty easy on YouTube. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. And once again, guys, I really appreciate those who've given me this amount of time today, 28 minutes. Thank you so much. And also thank you very much for those who have joined and liked and shared, because that support has been overwhelming, and we're almost up to 1,400 subscribers in a matter of 2 or 3 days. That's just incredible. Thank you.